Hey there, athletes. Coach John Ferry here from Team Wilpers. Incredibly excited to welcome you to our Week 1 athlete briefing for this 2023 Holiday Challenge. The main goal, as always on this challenge, is to improve the result of that 20-minute distance test over the course of now a 6-week period. Our sub-goal in this particular challenge is really to spend a lot of time working and improving on our threshold energy zone, which is an energy zone that's so pertinent to so many popular race distances that we enjoy. And then our sub goal, but maybe most importantly, is to be super consistent and continue to improve during this time of year where it's so common for things to kind of fall off here. So people obviously have plenty of very valid excuses during this time of the year to miss workouts, to fall behind, but we're not going to do that. As a group, we've committed to yourself, you've committed to one another to stay consistent during this challenging time of year. This particular challenge was actually created because of an issue that Matt and I saw consistently coming into springtime training, actually, where we saw our athletes really develop over the summer, have incredible training blocks, come into the fall, perform exceptionally well, set all sorts of personal bests, personal records, etc., and then come back in the springtime again and have lost all that fitness, and we're starting over time after time. So this challenge in particular, as I said, as much as anything, is about staying consistent, trying to hang on to a little bit. So we don't always have to be at peak season all the time. As a matter of fact, we can't be at peak season all the time, but we can shift our energy zone, we can scale back, we can try to stay consistent, we can try to stay active, and that's what we're exactly hoping to do here in this challenge. So a little rule of thumb, maybe encouraging, maybe not, is that for every kind of week off outside of your kind of regular down season, it takes usually about 2 weeks to come back to that fitness. So if we take this time, this difficult 6-week stretch from Thanksgiving to New Year's, we take 6 weeks where we're off our workouts, we're talking about 3 months to kind of get back just to where we started. That's what we don't want. That's what we're hoping to improve right here. So this challenge is going to improve. It's going to include endurance running, aka easy running. So those can be used interchangeable. When you see endurance, that means easy. When you see easy, that means endurance. We're going to include striders, mostly as drills in these workouts, but occasionally in kind of our down weeks, a little bit of the workout. We're going to talk about what striders are a little bit later. Include a lot of threshold pace work, which is going to be the bread and butter, as I mentioned, of this particular challenge. And then a little bit of VO2 max, or could also be called lactate buffering zone. That's a zone 5 on a scale 1 to 7. So just a little bit faster than threshold for relatively short intervals here. So a little bit of housekeeping here. Obviously, everyone has signed up via the website. I assume that's how you found your way here. So hopefully everyone is set up on the online portal. So where the schedule will be delivered each week. You should be able to see the new schedule there every Friday morning. And then we will be here talking about that schedule and answering questions on Friday evening. So hopefully, if you have not already gotten that set up, you definitely need to do so. The other very important reason, the thing you'll find there, is your pace box. So the pace box right now, especially for new people, you might be confused, is going to have all zeros. And that's the reason is because that pace box is based upon the result of your 20-minute distance test. So you're going to need to input the result of that test once you do it using the gear icon on that pace box. For our repeat athletes that might have just completed their distance test, if you do plan to reuse your test result from a couple weeks ago, you're going to still need to go in, use that gear icon, put that old test result in to repopulate your paces for this challenge. Also, next to each workout will be the box. This is the box to check off and say, I did this workout. So I've already waxed poetically about how we need to do as best as possible to track towards that 100% completion percentage. So while I want everyone in each challenge to track towards that 100% completion percentage, this is a particularly important goal to this challenge, that we stay consistent, we do what we committed to, and we track towards 100%. If you miss, you miss, so be it. Move on to the next one. And then most importantly, don't make one miss become 2 misses, becomes 3 misses. Try to stay as close as possible to that 100% completion percentage. Just FYI, completion percentage updates at the end of the week. So as you're entering workouts during the week, don't worry that it's not updating automatically. It updates at the end of the week. Let's jump into our workouts here. Run number 1, option A, 20-minute distance test. So this is quite simple, as far as you can run in 20 minutes. You can do this indoors, you can do this outdoors, you can do it on the track, you can do it on a treadmill, you can do it on an indoor track. The little hints I'm going to give here is just warm up well, start hard, finish hard. So this, although a negative split is a great thing to go after, this is not a planned progression run. So the goal is not to start easy and get a little bit harder as time goes on. The goal is to start pretty hard, also continue hard in the middle, and finish the hardest if you're looking for that negative split. Why performance testing? So it's been a couple challenges since I've talked about the why performance testing, but I think there were a lot of new people. So for people who've heard this before, maybe a good reminder. Simply, it is the most accurate way for us to determine exactly where your current fitness are and assign appropriate pacing to challenge you in this particular 6-week block. So performance testing takes into account running efficiency, determination, mental toughness, and then finally pace as well. So why is this important? You spend all this time training, and time is one of the most valuable assets any of us have. So when we are training and we're not using the right paces, we're not optimizing that time. And if you're going to spend the time and you're going to commit and you put the effort forth, you might as well get everything you possibly can out of that. So if you're running your zones and you're running too fast, you're overshooting those zones. You're not actually working those zones in the same way. You're not getting as much as you can out of that workout. If you're missing the zones, you're too slow. We see this all the time with kind of some of the faster paces, the VO2 max paces and above. People don't feel confident getting up there, so they're coming under. You're not training that zone anymore. So you end up not getting quite to zone 5. You end up in zone 4, but the workout duration, the interval duration isn't long enough to really train zone 4. So you're getting a good workout, you're burning calories, hopefully you're having fun, but you're not getting everything you can out of it. So if you're going to put the time and the effort in, we want to make sure you get as much return on that investment as possible. And finally, you have to meet yourself where you are today. And this is a difficult pill for all of us to swallow sometimes, which is that the paces as of today are based on your fitness as of today, not 6 months ago, not 2 years ago, not where you're hoping to be 6 months from now. We have to meet you where you are today. That's why it's important to periodically retest. And we're going to test again at the end of this 6-week block to see where you are on that day. And maybe we move forward and maybe we move backwards. Moving backwards is part of the process. It happens sometimes. Don't be afraid of it. Moving backwards actually helps the workout be more appropriate, feel better, be more fun. I've moved myself backwards in recent years multiple times. It is in a more appropriate way. You'll get more out of the workouts. You'll recover better. So that is why we performance test. That said, you do need to prepare for this test a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. So here's kind of a couple things to think about. You do want to rest up a bit. You want to give yourself as best shot of success as possible. So don't come in tired. Don't come in fatigued from another workout. You want to come in as fresh as possible to really give yourself a good hard effort. Rule number 1, however, don't overthink it. Start running, run for 20 minutes as best as possible. Stop running, record your distance. That's it. So once again, inside, outside, hilly route, etc. No matter. This is a baseline test, so it can't be done wrong. Start running, stop 20 minutes later, record your distance. Rule number 2, however, don't hold back too much. Don't hold back. This is the test that sets the baseline. So I was just talking a lot about really using the appropriate pace zone. So in order to get those appropriate pace zones, you have to give it a pretty good hard effort to make sure that paces match the effort that you put forward here. We're not going to talk about strategy on this test 1 because, once again, it's a baseline test. So you cannot do poorly here. It's just a kind of a data point, if you will, that will carry through this challenge. And we'll look again in a few weeks and see a new data point. That being said, if you are completely terrified by this test, or just beginner runner, right, which is no problem. Being a beginner runner is great. Being a beginner at everything is great. It means you have a tremendous amount of room for improvement. I'm going to give a couple modifications that I've never given before, may never give again, depending upon how things go. If the 20-minute distance test is completely terrifying, maybe try doing 2 10-minute tests with a small break, adding that time together. If I were going to do that, I would run as hard as I could for 10 minutes. I would take a break somewhere between 2 and 5 minutes. I would run again as hard as I could for 10 minutes. It's not going to be as accurate, but if that gets you to do the test and gets you to get more accurate than just kind of guessing, I'll take that. And then if that's still too daunting, just try one 10-minute test. Add the times together. It's, once again, not going to be as accurate because the test is sort of dependent upon the deterioration in the second half. But if you need a baseline and you're completely daunted by trying to run as hard as you can for 20 minutes, which is fine, then this will be a way at least to get you a starting point that you can work off from there. So 2 modifications there to hopefully make this feel a little bit more approachable if you're completely terrified by this test. Option B, if you just tested and you're coming in and want to do the progression run. So there are 2 main goals, the progression run. Most importantly, get progressively faster every couple of minutes as we go through the run. So you want to start the run slower, finish the run faster beside the cool down. Goal number 1 of the progression run. Then we ultimately want to finish just a little bit faster than half marathon pace. So it's still a relatively lengthy workout. For the real endurance bugs out there that just came off of marathons that are used to doing 60, 90-minute workouts, long progression runs, still a moderately short workout, but it's plenty of time in its own. If you want to finish this highest threshold, go for it. I ultimately just want for that final little bit, just to finish a little bit more than half marathon pace. So if it's minute per mile faster, outstanding. If it's a minute faster and you're feeling incredible, also fantastic. I'm gonna leave that one up to you a little bit. Run number 2, our first true threshold workout of this challenge. So I mentioned that our key energy zone over the course of this challenge is gonna be our threshold energy zone. One of my favorite energy zones to work, popular in race distances, important in the 5K, the 10K, the 15K, the crucial in the half marathon, still very important in the marathon to work and have this elevated threshold. And so this threshold in particular, we're referring to lactic threshold, or the point in which your body can no longer clear lactic acid. So that's very important for endurance racing. So we want to work right up to that fine line where your body can kind of still clear the lactic acid while you're running, doesn't start to accumulate it. Week 2 will actually kick up a little bit into VO2 max above threshold. That we're trying to design our body to create that lactic acid in a way that we can't clear, and I'll talk about it more next week. But we're hopefully, utilizing that to hopefully teach our body how to clear it when we start to cool down, run a little bit slower. Threshold workouts, however, are characterized by relatively long periods of work with short periods of rest. So that is why it's such an endurance race pace. So we're starting this week off here, 4-minute intervals, 1 minute on. So our work to recovery ratio, 4 minutes on, 1 minute off, obviously mostly work. Those 1 minute recoveries, however, are a really great opportunity to genuinely recover. They are called a recovery for a reason. It's not necessarily a badge of honor to keep running them moderately hard. So what I want you to do is run, I was talking about right up to that fine line of threshold, that threshold pace for the 4 minutes, and then take that time to really hopefully recatch your breath, let your body settle back in so that you're ready to go back into that next 4-minute block. So by the time this is all said and done, we're going to spend 12 minutes at time at zone with only 2 1-minute breaks in the kind of the middle there. So it's a lot of work time with a little bit of recovery time. So being thoughtful about taking that break kind of early on the first break, really utilizing it. It's okay to be lower in your easy pace zones. It's okay to be all the way out and lower than your easy pace if that's what you need to recover to get back into it, because you still want to be running strong at that pace in that third, and I think even in the difficult setting, into the 4th set. So take advantage of those recoveries there. And our final run, key run of the week here, our endurance run, starting off week 1, just 45-minute easy run. So I mentioned before, endurance running also can be referred to as easy running. Easy running goes back, referred to as endurance running. Ton of cardiovascular benefit. This is where we get most of our cardiovascular benefit from running, is in this endurance type running here. In order to get the maximum, out of that workout, going back to having those accurate pace zones and being true to them, you need to really be aerobic to get the max out of that easy pace workout. So the 20-minute distance test, I know it's a fast-paced workout, fast pace, fast run, but it's still very much an endurance event. So these easy runs are really the bread and butter of all endurance race training plans. And for experienced runners, people with half marathon goals and 10K goals, half marathon goals, things you're working on, absolutely feel free to extend these long runs to match your training progression. You do not need to do both. This is our weekly long run. So a few questions that came up here during the week. First question was just a simple one. It was, what is a strider? Strider, this is very funny. You would think that, many people know this, but many people don't at all levels of running. I've had conversations all the way up to pro level athletes that are still kind of asking what striders are. You can put a group of coaches in one room and you're going to get 10 different definitions of exactly what it is. So I'll give you mine at least, which is, it is just an acceleration up to a pace that finishes at hard. So that is really the key characteristic here and the most important thing to think about. This is not a speed interval. This is not an immediate jump up to a fast pace, running hard for a short period of time and then cooling it back down. What this is, in my opinion, when executed very well, is a very gentle acceleration where you're moving from your easy pace, just very slowly up, basically a progression run in 15 seconds. And then for the final 2-3 seconds, you're at a pace which I would say is hard. So that could be different each day, right? I certainly come into runs feeling different each day. There are days where I'm not able to quite get up to a certain pace if I've been coming in after a heavy week of working out. So that's why I kind of don't dictate the pace exactly, which is kind of leave it a bit open there in that kind of hard area, which is I want you to kind of gauge based upon how you're feeling for that day. So once again, not an interval, not a speed workout. It's a gentle acceleration that only just peaks at a tough pace for 2-3 seconds. We're really using this to open up your stride, so we can use this in the warm-up to get your body a little bit more ready to take on that harder strain workout. We can also use this in the middle of an easy run set sometimes to just try to break up the monotony of that same cadence, same footfall, so that when you settle back down into that easy pace, it hopefully feels a little bit more comfortable. Our next question here is a three-parter from Esther Rubenstein. So we're going to hit all three parts because I think they all are applicable to us all. The first one really had to do with where to pair strength workouts with key running workouts in your week. And so if you do the run plus strength challenge, that kind of is an option with this challenge, those strength days will sit on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So those are a non-key running days. So if you do what I saw a couple of people have done, which is if you do the challenge plus one of the strength plans for our library, which is great also, those strength workouts are going to show up on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday because it's technically a standalone plan. So while there's some rationale for both ways, we tend to recommend doing those strength workouts on your non-key running days. So if you were doing the challenge and then you also had the static strength training plan from the training library, I personally would shift those to like a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday situation, leaving yourself, just to focus on your key workout on those days. There was the other side of it is plenty of people feel fatigue multiple days after their strength training. So, if you find that that's your experience, it's okay to adjust a little bit, maybe experiment. But as a baseline, as a rule of thumb, I would absolutely do your strength workouts on your non-key running days. Question part 2 is, in my previous marathoning life, I was coached never to take fuel in during the long, easy pace runs. So I wanted to know the guidance on that from Team Wilper's perspective. And so the first thing I would say is I don't like that philosophy one bit. I think it's dead wrong. But for devil's advocate here, I guess it would depend a little bit on what you would classify as long. So loosely, anything under 60 minutes, you certainly don't need fuel to complete that workout. If you come in well hydrated, if you come in well fueled, You shouldn't need anything intra-workout, although it might still be worth toying around with. 60 to 90 minutes, it's really going to be a little bit dependent upon the athlete and their kind of history at that duration of workout. It's where I would start recommending fuel for a lot of people. 90 minutes and beyond, I said fueling intra-workout, I would say, is critical, and that all athletes should be fueling for workouts 90 minutes and beyond intra-workout. So hopefully that helps there. But yes, have never heard the rationale of not fueling during long workouts. Would be interesting to hear the conversation, but Team Wilpers disagrees. And then question 3 of this triptych is, if I'm running 6 days a week, what do I do for my rest day? In the weeks leading up to starting this training, I've been doing some easy cycling on my non-running days, no more than 60 minutes, never higher than a zone 2, just to give my legs some non-impact active recovery. And so my answer to this would be, you should do less than this on your recovery day, on your off day. Recovery runs, recovery cycles, not really a thing, don't exist. You're either putting strain on your body in terms of stress, or you're not putting strain on your body in terms of stress. And so while you certainly don't need to be motionless, I like to recommend to all my athletes on their off day, I don't want anything that goes even into zone 2. So the walking is great, and I like to recommend to my athletes that this is an opportunity to go out and at walk the dog pace. It is not a power walking moment. It's not a challenging hike day. This is a walk the dog pace. So if you have a dog, take them out and go walking. If not, take yourself out and go walking. It's also a great time. I know we're coming into winter, but maybe bundle up. But that's what I want people doing on recovery days. Nothing that elevates their heart rate. There's a whole conversation we could have about cortisol levels, etc., of stressing your body that way. But just remember, no recovery rides, no recovery runs don't exist. It's just a little extra stress on the body that we don't want on that off day. So question about people turkey trotting. So I'm sure lots of people are turkey trotting this upcoming week, right? And then we've got all these workouts right in the middle. So depending upon how serious you are about your turkey trotting, a couple things might need to happen here. One, might make sense to push your distance test. There are some different strategies there. Certainly, if you have questions about it, leave them as posts on the Facebook page. I'll try to get in there and answer. But might want to push your distance tests. In essence, doing 2 kind of race efforts in 4 days, if we stuck straight to the schedule Monday, Thursday, is a lot. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. If you want to be really rested for the test, you also want to be really rested for your event. So if you're serious about your turkey trot, consider either maybe doing the test this weekend to give you a little bit more of a buffer zone, maybe waiting a week or 2, kind of giving your best guess on what it is for a few weeks until you kind of feel rested, recovered from that turkey trot, and you can give a nice effort on the distance test. Either way, however, is that turkey trot should take the place of your Wednesday workout. Nobody should be doing the Wednesday workout and their turkey trot on Thursday. So if you're turkey trotting on Thursday, that counts as your Wednesday workout. So if you're not too serious about your turkey trot, you're going out for fun running, family, etc., go ahead and test on Monday or do your key workout. Maybe run very short, easy workout on Wednesday, maybe skip Wednesday, do that turkey trot on Thursday. That's going to count as that Wednesday workout this week. No need to do both. As a matter of fact, not great to do both. And our final question here today, interesting one. So question is, I would like to increase from 4 runs a week to 5 runs a week and from easier to moderate intensity at the same time. Is that wise to do both changes at the same time? Can I walk that 5th run so that I'm getting time on feet but not overdoing too much too fast? Or would you recommend sticking with 4 runs a week and move to moderate for older runners who are prone to injury so they have extra recovery time? So interesting question. And at first I almost reply in the thread because it's a specific question, but I thought there were a couple things that could be interesting to everyone. And so the big difference between our easy, moderate, and difficult is the total volume of the workout. Difficult tends to be a little bit longer, easier a little bit shorter, moderate right in the middle, as you might expect. Difficult, a little bit more time at zone in terms of the intensity of the zone. easier, a little bit less time in zone. Kind of goes with the volume of the workout. So when moving up a difficulty point, we're adding volume because the workout's going to get a little bit longer. And we're also going to add intensity because the amount of time at zone is going to stretch out a little bit. If we move up in terms of the number of runs per week, so if we go from 4 runs a week to 5 runs a week, what you're going to get from most programming, definitely this program, is you're going to get an extra easy run part of the week. So you're adding more volume, but the intensity of the week is going to stay about the same. So, if you're worried, and if I was working with an athlete that was worried about kind of the combination of adding volume and intensity simultaneously, which is a legitimate worry, and I would be worried if I was trying to give that to an athlete, what I would probably kind of look at is say like, hey, let's get that 5th session in the week. We don't need to extend the existing session. Let's use another day. We can keep the intensity of that very, very low. Could be that it becomes a walk session. Could be a walk-run session. Could be just a very, very easy run, depending upon how your body is responding that week. That way you're getting the additional volume split over a different training day and not having those 2 stimuluses being up at the same time. If that feels good, if you're able to move to a 5-day training week, which is an amazing thing to do, probably not a lot of runners in general, to be quite honest, like consistently knocking out 5-day training weeks. That's great. I would hold that 5-day training week without adding the extra intensity for at least the duration of this challenge. So this is a 6-week challenge. And then if you have felt really good with it, if your body is responding positively, then maybe when you go into your next training block, maybe the next challenge starting in the top of January, that would be an opportunity to up the intensity, because at that point, the volume is relatively well set. You have that 5th session already in the week. You're just adding on a little bit of extra intensity in those points. So that would be my suggestion, is to get that extra session into the week. That's going to immediately add more volume without the intensity. And then, like I said, in the next training block, it's just upping the intensity a little bit, assuming that everything goes well. Well, otherwise, we are off to the races here with the 2023 Holiday Challenge. This is one of my favorite ones of the year. So thanks so much for being part of it. Thank you so much for being here on a Friday evening. I can't wait to see you here next week for week 2. Have a great one.